Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. If you're in Lagos, Nigeria, hello, everyone from part of the world. My name is Funke Ajayi, and welcome to another session on CSFI, that is Career Status Series with 5 questions where young professionals get to share about their career journey to inspire other young professionals. And today we have an amazing young lady named Feyisayo. She's in the design industry where that's UI UX. Am I correct, Feyisayo?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
User experience, yes, user interface and user experience design. So all of these amazing mobile apps that you see from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter to carry wise. That's what that came to my head right now. All of
Ah,
these amazing designs, they're all designed by people like Faye Shayo. And she's going to be sharing about her career journey. So if you're looking to switch into UI UX, this conversation is definitely for you. Or if you have interest in design, stay tuned to the end of this conversation. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot that you can apply in your personal space. So without wasting much time, let's go straight to Feyisayo. Hi, Feyisayo.
hi, Funke. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So, thank you so much for having me. My name is Feyisayo Faloye, and I am a product designer at Bridge, and I'm also a student. I'm a 400 level student of Obafemi Awolowo University. I'm studying computer science. And yes. So what I do is I design good and functional user experiences for users. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for giving it. So aside from coding and aside from that studying, aside from your work, do you engage in extra curricular or what do you do in your free time?
What do I do in my free time? Okay, so I watch movies. I
Okay.
hardly go out. I'm not a fit farm. I don't gym. And then I also try to take courses as frequently as I can. And yeah, so that's what I basically do. Work, school, movies and courses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So now to the next question. What is part of career
What?
got you in your life? What led you to go into UI UX or product design?
Oh, okay. So I'll say that okay, so I started designing in 2019 and I got properly introduced to tech in at the beginning of 2019 or I think 2018 or so. And as at that time, I didn't have a laptop, so I was just like, there's nothing I want to do. Let me just, focus on school and all of that. And then in April, I got a laptop and I decided to pick up front end development. So I was doing that. I was learning HTML and CSS. In fact, I was already doing pretty good until I had to start learning JavaScript. And at that point, I was like, I can't even like do this anymore. So I decided to think of something else to do. And prior to that, I used to draw. I used to draw a lot. I started drawing when I was, say, 11 or 10 years old. And so I was like, oh, I have a laptop now and I don't want to do coding anymore. Let me just start, drawing. Let me go back to drawing. And then I was thinking of actually advancing into like digital art and all of that stuff. But then I was not having a conversation with a friend, and then he was like, "Oh, you draw, you do this arts related stuff. I mean, why don't you consider doing designing?" And prior to that time, I had never done graphic design. I didn't know anything about designing. I was like, I was really new to designing. And so in October, I started watching YouTube videos. I was watching YouTube videos, and watching much more YouTube videos. And then at the time, I was also reading articles. And then I realized that, oh, like this is something I really like. And whatever cons that that design had, I was ready to, work around it and try to be better at it. And so that was how I started designing in 2019.
Wow, great. Thank you so much, Feyisayo. I learned from what you mentioned. Number one is the fact that you had an interest in design drawing right from
Yes.
time. It was quite easy for you to transition and also with your friends. So from time to time, you need those kind of friends where you can bounce ideas
Yeah.
and they're able to find ideas, application that you can use for your personal self. And I learned from our conversation is the fact that you learned yourself, even though you could have decided that, oh, I'm going to stay in school, but you felt like I can learn this myself. You consume these videos
Yeah.
from time to time. So all these guys that went to a training school, some are actually self-trial.
I mean, like I won't really say that I'm fully self-taught. So when I started learning design in October 2019, I learned on my own up until June 2020. So as a June, no, as a what month comes before June?
Okay.
As a May, I heard that I heard from somebody that okay, there was going to be like a design class with Pelumi Adeyemi, and I was like, oh, okay, like it's really nice to have a slot in this class because I mean there's only so much you can learning alone, and at the time it was just UI designs. I didn't know anything about UX. I was new to UX. I didn't know how to do user research. I didn't know how to do anything where UX was concerned. And so I got a slot into the class, and that was where I was able to understand user experience. And then I would not really say that like learning being a solo learner is so good in the long run, but then I think there's so much you can do when you decide to enroll in all these minor classes. It doesn't have to be anything major, just something small. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the advantage of being in a community, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So combine self and community together to get the full picture or that holistic view of where you should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that. Supposed to go to another question, but in my head, we combine and work together. How do you combine it?
Oh, okay. So combining school and work is actually a chore. Like it's a very hectic chore, especially when you are trying to want to participate in school. And you also know that you also have other things to do. So how do I combine it? So most times, so I work remotely, and I don't take opportunities that are not remote because working remotely helps me to plan my time properly. So I know that okay, from this period to this period, I have classes, right? And I have to go for these classes. So in the case where I have like a ton of work to do, what I do is I try to finish most of it up so that by the time it is the deadline, right, I will not be stuck. And during stand up, I won't be looking at everybody like sorry, I had to do other things. So I think it's just pretty much time management and then being also proactive, because schooling and working would push you to be very proactive, because at that point in time you would be the one to most likely set deadlines for yourself, right? And if your company sets a deadline of like say 1 week, you would probably set a deadline of like 3-4 days for yourself, so that you don't get, I mean, you probably get burnt out, because combining the two of them will definitely not be easy. But once you can manage your time properly, I mean, you're good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Prisha, for sharing. I know it's not an easy task of combining both studying and proper work together. Well done. More strength.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my next question. What are the three things that have helped you in your career? You've mentioned some of them, but you can just touch on them again and just share more details on them.
Okay, so I'll say the first thing that has helped me in my career is having a supportive family. So I know that this is not like something that people say like a lot, because most people actually neglect the fact that most times whenever you feel down and you don't have motivation to go so far, your family is like pushing you, like you have to get there, or like I don't know how you want to do it, but you have to get there. And they are always people that you can run to, and they'll most likely be there to always help. So I'll say that having a supportive family. So I'll say the second thing is having community. So I'm very big on community, even though I'm not much of a social media person. But I always try to belong to a community, because not aside from the fact that you get to meet people in the same line as you are, you also get mentorship, you get jobs, you get that'll be career opportunities, you get resources to help you to advance in your career. So I'll say that communities are like, I always love to be in communities. I'm constantly searching for new communities to join in the country and also outside the country as well. So I'll say communities. And then the third thing, I'll say that I wanted to say Sakwa, but to be very honest, I think it is much more than that for me. Aside from the fact that like money is the motivation that keeps people going, I also like to make impact. So before I started designing at all, before I started, in fact, before I entered uni, one thing I always told myself is I want to be able to make impacts in whatever um career decision that I make, or in whatever thing I decide to do. So I'll say that I'm making impact. And then making impact for me can be like for now I'll just cap it to mentoring other people, to teaching people what I know. I know that I don't know everything, but the little I know, I always like to like give it out to other people, that okay, this is what I know, this is how I do my thing, and this is what works for me, right? So this alone pushes me to want to be better at my career, and that's what gives me motivation.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. It's very powerful insights. You talk about your family, and that is so true. Most people just tend to neglect their family. Families are actually very, very, very powerful. There's sometimes that I'm working, so I work remotely too. Sometimes I go to the office, and anytime I'm working at home
Okay.
and I have deadlines, my mom steps into the kitchen, make sure that I take my nap at the right time, ensures that I eat good food. She'll be like, oh, okay, what else do you want? Even my sister, I'm like, oh, do you need water? Do you need this? So family is like
Yeah,
one top-notch support system that I feel people need to recognize from time to time. And thank you so much for pointing that out to me and
you're
every
welcome.
other young professional out there. And they also talked about the power of community and also mentorship, giving back to people. And one thing I know is that when you give back to people, whatever you even have fixed in your head better. And of course, you would
Exactly.
always want to improve yourself because you would always want to give more. It's not come back again and it's still the same sales you still have to have. you know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So to our next
You're
question, if there is one thing you wish you learned early in your career, what would that be?
I would say that the one thing that I wish that I learned earlier in my career would be that I need to take things like slowly, and the fact
Mhm.
that I would have advised myself to know the basics. And basic sounds like very, very vague, but then so currently now I'm trying to take like a lot of courses that I feel I shouldn't be taking, because of the fact that I started on a pretty rough patch. So I just started on taking sorry, watching YouTube videos, reading articles, doing all of that stuff. But then right now I realized that there were so many things that I didn't know, that I won't say I did it understand. But then I didn't know them. So right now I'm taking courses, I'm taking beginner courses like at the moment. And then there's just so much insight that I am beginning to, have based on those courses. And then I would also say that my second advice would be that maybe I should have interacted more and stopped being shy. And I know that being shy is like mostly not people's fault to be shy. But then I am a very shy person, or let me say I used to be shy. I don't know if I'm still shy. But then starting out, a lot of people didn't know that I was designing or that I had started designing. So there were so many people that I wish I had reached out to earlier in my career to guide me properly into like the way things were supposed to be. And it's just now that I've started reaching out to these people. Like, this is a little over 3 years, and I am just beginning to reach out to these people that, okay, this is this. I have questions here. This is a situation that I am currently in. I need help. I need advice. Right. So I would say that people should. This is an advice. This is an advice to my beginner self, but then I would also see this as an advice to other people. Reach out to people. Like, it cannot be overemphasized.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so funny that if you reach out to people on LinkedIn, I used to say this several times, people are actually willing to help. It's so funny how people
Yes,
are ready to help. But if you don't reach out, nobody will know. I actually met Feyisayo
exactly.
on LinkedIn and I saw your post. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So just imagine the kind of opportunities you would have gotten if you started this out like very early. But
Yeah.
they say better late than never, right?
That
So I'm
never.
sure
Yeah.
the perfect timing that God has for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, you mentioned that you're just learning some rudiments because of the rough part you started. And I would also like to say that's where community would play in, whereby they also tell you, they put you in track from the beginner course, or these are what you should learn first, followed by the intermediate, the advanced, the expert, the professional. So they
Yeah.
will guide you, from the beginning down to, I mean, from the bottom straight to the top. So thank you for sharing that. Those are powerful nuggets that I
You're
think people
welcome.
should know. Okay, so our next question: what interests you about your career? Like, what excites you about your career?
Okay, so what interests me? So aside from churning out like very beautiful looking UI designs,
I
I would
know.
say that one other thing that interests me is seeing what you have spent so much time on. You see people using these things, right? And that's like one thing that I always say at work. Like, I'm like, we need to push this thing out, or like, I don't want to know, I want people to use it, and then I want to get feedback on this, so that I can know that I am doing something right at this point, even though it may not be totally right. So I would say that seeing people use what I build, like, just gives me ultimate satisfaction.
I
Yeah.
know, right? I can really understand where you're coming from because I work with designers too. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So our final
Yeah.
question, so I don't keep you too long on this call. I'm sure there's some people that are like, oh, I love to venture into this field or this section in the tech space. How do I get started? What tools do I need to know? And I think you're in the best position because you had the rough patch at the beginning, but now, hey, everything seems to be going smooth. So, what would you advise, people who are, starting out or who are just interested in the UI UX space in the tech industry? What would you advise them, and what tools would you mention that they start checking out?
Okay, so I would say that if you're starting out in design, in UI UX design to be precise, I always tell people, if you're starting out, always try to read articles about like the basics of UX. But then I now found out that some people actually feel more comfortable learning the UI part before the UX part. So if you can learn the UI part before the UX part, that works too. But then read articles, uh check out courses. There are some paid courses and there are some free courses as well. Try to make the most of those free courses. Then another thing I would advise is, even if you don't have anything on your portfolio or you haven't started working on anything, try to join a community. Because if you join a community as an early beginner, you would have people that can actually help you and advise you on better resources to use. And then if you can afford to go to a design school, or if you can afford to pay for these classes that people organize, then I think you should. And speak out. If you've designed anything, post them on LinkedIn, post them on Twitter. I don't really use LinkedIn a lot, but I use Twitter. And my design career pretty much kickstarted on like a bigger scale on Twitter. And just do exhaust all the possible options so that you know that you actually did try to get into this. So if at the end it is not something that you now find interesting, you can now decide to check out other career opportunities in tech or outside tech, but exhaust every option that you have. That will be my
Wow.
advice.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. So consume
Yeah.
content, join a community, have a portfolio, whatever you work on, post it on LinkedIn. I actually like saying on LinkedIn, so why not? Like you mentioned, exhaust all possible options, exhaust all possible alternatives that you have within your, jurisdiction, like how people would say. So what tools would you tell them to start using? Like, I know there's Figma. So which other tools would you advise that they use?
Okay, so for tools, I'll say Figma. And if you are not clear on some things, I would also advise that you check the community section on Figma, because they have like various templates for different things. So say you have started learning UX and you're trying to present this data that you have gathered, right, from doing your user research. You can check the community section of Figma to see how to better present them. So I'll say Figma. If you want to go into low fidelity wireframes, you can use Figma, but then you can also use Miro and Whimsical. These are other like wireframing tools. Then if you want to go into like rapid prototyping, I would say our advice to use Figma. I mean, Figma can pretty much do almost everything. Thinking about it now, so
Right?
Figma can do a bunch of stuff. Yeah, but then if you want to learn other tools too, you can also use Framer, Protopie, and then one thing I would also advise you to learn how to use is Google Sheets and Google Docs too. So for documentation, and then Notion. Okay, Notion. So I have
Yeah.
my portfolio is currently on Notion and Figma. But then you see Notion, Notion is very dear to my heart. Like I love Notion. Whenever I'm thinking of something, I neglect my notes and then I go to Notion to put it down. Whenever I'm working on a new case study, the draft is all on Notion. So I would say you learn Notion. Notion can be um a bit hard to learn, but then you can go to their YouTube page and learn how to use all their features. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Faye. Talking about Notion, I love Notion. Like, I think Notion is actually easy to use, maybe from my own end, but I love it because it's easy to use. Yes,
Okay.
and it's very good for documentation, actually. So we have Milo for low fidelity, we have Whimsical for low fidelity, and Sigma. Sigma can be used for both low and high fidelity. Am I correct?
Yes.
Exactly. So please lay your hands on Figma if you want to tread the path of UI UX. Thank you so much, Feyisayo, for joining us
Thank
today
you.
on TNI.
Thank you so
We
much.
really appreciate this. Yeah, and we wish you all the best in your career journey. And definitely, I'll keep in touch with you, especially that mentorship session that you talked about. I'll definitely keep in touch.
Ah, all right. Thank you very much, Funke, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.
Bye.